In this video, we're going to explore how to do troubleshooting on the Hyperscale Manager, or HSM. The first thing we can do on the dashboard here is to look at a problem we might have with latencies. I have two flash system A9000s, one XIV, and one Spectrum Accelerate, which is off-premise or in the cloud. My tooltip looks okay. There's my IOPS for both systems, as you see, more than 2 million versus my 232,000 in the Spectrum Accelerate. Under System Info, I can take a look at my mirrored volumes, my mapped volumes, and my quality of service. I have quality of service on 9 separate pools. Now, let's focus. We can do a filter. So, for example, we can take a look at just the flash system A9000s. I have 2 of them defined in my system. I'm going to include the metadata so that it actually calculates a little differently. I can see that my latency is a little different than what I expect. While I have nearly 2 million IOPS, the latency seems a little off. And in fact, when I do the tooltip, take a look. I have a maximum on A9000 number 1 of 60 milliseconds. Notice the top or the max. Let's click on the A9000 with the maximum amount of latency. This immediately takes me to the system itself and brings up the historic latency. Let's look at its current latency, however, though. So, as you see on the tooltip, it's almost at 60 milliseconds for this entire A9000 number 1. There's something wrong. Let's explore the hosts. So, I can see on the system I have 6 hosts. I can click on the H and it'll bring up the 6 hosts. Some of them, as you notice, don't even have volumes on the system, so that helps narrow it down even further. Notice down below, I see the latency. So the graph is now populating. As you can see, I can take a look at all the max and the minimum, and most of the hosts seem to be doing equally bad. Notice that some of them are still a little higher than the others, but they're all doing equally bad. Let's add another chart and take a look at another chart here. In this case, how about just the mapped volumes now? So now we're going to look at all the volumes that are mapped and just their latency, and we'll be able to see this in lockstep. Take a look. I can now see that the volumes are all equally bad. I'm going to zoom out now so I can actually put yet another view up. Now I'm going to put up another chart here. I'm going to change so that the top chart actually can show me IOPS. Take a look. I notice that some of those volumes are not doing very good at all on IOPS, and I'm seeing all the other volumes doing much better. So I close all the charts. Let's zoom back in and take a look. Let's take a look at the host connectivity. If I narrow down to one host, I can see the details of this one particular host, and I see that it's connected. I see another host, I drill into its connectivity, and the last host that has mapped volumes has also connectivity. So there's something else going on that I don't know yet. Let's go to the volumes of all of these hosts so we can take a look at a deeper view. Now that I've selected all the volumes, let's click on the mapping. And from the mapping, I can jump immediately to just those 37 volumes. Down below, you can actually see the IOPS latency and bandwidth is calculated just on these 37 volumes now. Notice the high latency again is shown, but none of them have quality of service. So we've at least eliminated the quality of service on the volumes themselves. But let's go to their pool. Maybe something's going wrong at the pool level. So here's all the pools. Notice that one of the pools has a quality of service. The bronze QS is being applied somewhere. Let's investigate. It's actually in quite a few pools, and it has an IOPS limit. This one quality of service is applied to 9 separate pools. Let's add some more zeros to the limit. I click Apply, and now it's applied. Let's click on Back. Let's click on Back again. And now let's take a look down below. Our latency is slightly changed, but not by much. Again, the IOPS are not exactly where we're expecting them. Let's go back to our quality of service. We're going to go through the pools and notice the quality of service. And here's that quality of service, which is still being applied to all the pools. Let's delete this quality of service and see if this solves the problem. So I can click on the Actions menu and then click on Delete. Let's go back to our dashboard and see what happens. On the dashboard, we expect to see different numbers. Take a look. Now we're at 3 million IOPS for those two flash system A9000s. That's much better. Especially if I click to latency, you can see that the latency is far better on A9001. Now, if we jump to that A9001, you can actually see the historic latency. And now let's switch to the IOPS. So let's zoom out now and actually put up some other charts. So I'm going to zoom out even further. So there's current latency and current bandwidth. So let's review again. So the charts are populating. I have current bandwidth up above, current latency in the middle, and current IOPS all at the same time on my screen and in lockstep. This is what we expect. So as an administrator, I'm much happier. Obviously, the quality of service was causing the problem. Let's take a look at the connectivity of the system to other systems. Notice that this one system has a target, so it's replicating to another system. There's the one to its brother, A9000 number 2. I can see the green connected, and let's actually investigate the connectivity. Here's another green checkbox. If I want to look at the details, I can actually see how they are connected. Notice that you actually see some red dots. If I see red lines, that means obviously a link has a problem or some other issues that I need to investigate. But currently, right now, everything's working okay. I can also bring up the hardware view on the system. So if I click on the system itself in the hub, notice that there's the hub on the right-hand side. So I can actually take a look at every single component. And obviously, if one of the components is bad, it'll actually shade itself and go red or yellow. But right now, everything is going quite well. I don't have any component that has failed or has any problem. Let's go back to the dashboard. And in my dashboard, I can see my health. Notice that under availability, I can click on, and I have -6 because there's an RPO lagging between some volumes, and I can actually see which ones. If I click on it, it'll actually take me to that particular screen. So there it goes. I now have those two volumes with the RPO that's lagging, so I can immediately take a look at either the RPO or something else that's going on. If I go back to the dashboard using the back button, I can actually see on the capacity it's -3% because I have reached a pool threshold. I can change the pool threshold, or I can do something else about the volumes, maybe move them to another pool. I see 300 terabytes that are not even being used and being reclaimed. So I can click on that, and that'll actually take me to all the volumes that can be reclaimed. If I right-click, I can actually bring up the Actions menu, and I can either migrate them, or I can move them somewhere else. If I go back to the dashboard, I can actually take a look at the other -6% on connectivity and security. In this case, I can see that there's quite a few hosts that have connectivity issues, and one doesn't even have the multipath defined, and 2 hosts are not even connected to the normal amount of modules. This would impact its performance. This is important because it also could lead to a slowdown on those particular systems. Notice down below if I haven't filled out my proactive support, so I can call home to IBM. This is an important issue. I can actually fix this with this hot link. Notice that some of my systems in my inventory are not reporting properly, so I can go right to that particular system if I need to. I can configure and change this health tip right by this gear icon. So if I click on this hot link, I can actually change the scoring as well as the tips. I can actually change the point scale right here. If I scroll down, I can actually change each of the particular tips, where I can either show them or not show them. Notice that I can actually change on a tip-by-tip basis. If I scroll down, you can see some of the other tips which we can configure as well, including mirroring, and mirroring deactivation or mirroring lagging. We can also look at migration. These are all important to keep your systems at their peak performance. Let's go to events right now. So now we're going to see the events from all of the systems that are defined to my hyperscale manager. So take a look. Here's 1,200 events that are being reported from all 4 of my systems. Some of them are warning, some of them are major, some are just informational. I can change the column size here. I can add more columns if I need to. I can also filter these events. Let's take a look at minimum severity. So I'm actually going to filter so it's only major events shows up in my view. Here's now just my major events down to 413 out of 3289 events. I can further filter down by a particular family or by a particular array. Once I click on any particular event, it actually shows me more information about that event, including the system time as well as the local time. This allows you to do a conversion if you need it. You can actually see the alerts up above as well, and these are the ones that have not been acknowledged. Let's actually investigate the pool alerts right now. Let's take this pool for example. I have 50% allocated volumes, and if I scroll to the right, I actually see that the 44% used. You can see the percentage up above. Now if I go to my actions, I can actually modify this particular threshold. As you can see, I click on the actions, and maybe I want to change this pool threshold so that it shows 43%. I click apply, and now notice the icon has changed yellow, so it has reached a threshold warning. The alert has shown up on the events. There's the pop-up, and you can see it up above as well.